Hello, and thank you for joining Brighter Graphics for our third in a series of 12 BluebeamMeUp technical webinars. Presenting today, Bluebeam's Markup List showing function and workflow from our world-leading Bluebeam instructor, Troy DeGroot. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Our webinar is scheduled to run for 35 minutes. We have in the handout section a takeaway PDF, including tips and tricks of detail covered, and all will be emailed to all of the attendees at the end of the webinar. Don't worry again if you miss any of the key moments. Recordings of this afternoon and actually all of our previous webinars are available via the main Brighter Graphics website on the BluebeamMeUp tab. So that's a really good place to go for some of our old content and this content should you miss. As normal, all attendees are in listen-only mode. Questions can be asked using the chat feature, and at the end, we'll answer as many questions as we can in the time available. If we don't get a chance to answer all of the questions, we will individually reply to all of you with your answers offline. So feel free to actually ask as many questions as you want. We welcome the interaction. So now let's get going with the part that you're all looking forward to and here for the actual technical presentation. Over to you, Troy.
Great to hear from you this month, Darren. Thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon, Bluebeamers. My name is Troy DeGroot with U Chapter 2, and I'm excited to partner with the team at BricsTech and Brighter Graphics to deliver world-class Bluebeam training and customization services so you can get the most out of your Bluebeam investment. Last month, we introduced the functionality available in the tool panels on the left and the right sides of the user interface. I hope you're starting to see why Bluebeam Revu has quickly become the industry standard PDF solution. Today, we're going to continue building our knowledge of Bluebeam Revu by uncovering the power behind the Markups List. We'll look at ways we can sort, filter, hide, and import all this valuable data. Be ready to take notes. This will be another informative presentation with about 15 bullet points to go through in just 35 minutes. As a reminder, you can enter your questions in the chat as we go. We'll answer as many as possible in whatever remaining time we have at the end. So right off the bat, we're going to jump in and show you where the Markups List is at. So I've got a snagging list drawing open here, and your Markups List is going to be right across the bottom. You've got this blue line. If you hold that down with your left mouse button, you can drag that up, and that will reveal your Markups List. So this is where all of the data is being collected when you place your markups. So there is a one-to-one relationship between all of your markups that you do on your drawing and in the Markups List as well. So if I select something up here, a markup, it's going to highlight it down here in my Markups List. If I select something in my Markups List, it's going to select it in my drawing. Okay, if one of these exists, they both have to exist. If I delete one from my Markups List down here, if I just hit delete on my keyboard, it's going to delete that from the drawing as well. So just keep that in mind. All the markups that you're doing up top are generating a Markups List down here, which gives us a great opportunity to have some rich data, and we'll show you some examples here. So first off, let's look at the different columns that are available. So the Markups List can be used for a lot of different functions. In this snagging list, it's just collecting a bunch of information, things that need to be fixed before the keys are handed over for this building. So you can use it for estimating, snagging lists. We can use it for design review, which basically creates a to-do list for anybody applying the changes that you're marking up. And you could use it for even scheduling some different projects and things like that as well. So right down in our Markups List, we're going to start on the left side with our Markups List pull-down menu. Once I click on here, you can see I've got a couple different choices here. When I go to columns, you can see all the default columns that are available that come with Bluebeam. So I can turn on the page label. It's going to show us what page it's on. Spaces. I used that to determine where these markups are. All the markups that are in this space will categorize by room 1254. So we can have spaces turned on. Labels, that's just the label of the markup, the subject, and so on. You can go through this list. Sometimes you'll have some of these turned on, other times you'll have them turned off, totally depending on your workflows. And then in here also we have a manage columns, and we'll get to that a little bit later when we talk about creating some custom columns. So we can do that as well to really build on the data that is provided in our markups and make it bring it to the next step. So that is our columns. The next one down is markups, and this is where you can export your markups. So if you have a sheet full of markups and you want to export that, maybe there's a revised drawing, you want to import them onto the new drawing, you can export these and import them. And that will give you an export file. You can save in your folder or whatnot, but you can also import. So when you, in that scenario, if you're in the new drawing, you can just click here to import, point to the old drawing, and it will pull all of those all those markups, sorry, to the new drawing. It leaves them on the old one, but it will also copy them onto the new drawing as well. So that is our import. And then the last one here is capture. So in this case, we've got this snagging list. I do have some images attached to some of my markups. So there's a couple options here. We can do a capture summary. I'll show you what that looks like. I can set this up to attach the media as linked files or exclude the filtered markups. So you have some settings in here that you can set up what you want those to look like, and when I click OK, it's going to create my summary of all of my markup or all of my images. So here you can see, make this a little bit smaller, you can see all the different images that I have attached to markups. It gives us all the data from the markups list here. The comment that was in along with that markup, it gives us a preview of the markup on the sheet and the image that was attached to that markup. So you've got a lot of great data in here showing where these are and what they are with the images. So that's how we can quickly create a summary. The other option under here was, let's go back to our markups list and capture. We can export capture media. So all of the images that I have attached to different markups in this file, I can export those in one swoop, just clicking there, tell it which folder to go to, and then hit select folder, and then you'll see here all those images are in the folder where I saved those out to. So it's just extracting a copy and saving those to the folder so you can share those. The nice thing about Bluebeam too is when you do attach images to your markups, they now live inside of the PDF. So when you share that PDF with others who have Bluebeam, they'll be able to see those images as well. And when I say images, just as an example, this indicates there's an image attached to that markup. So when I click on that, it's going to open up my flipbook, and I can flip through. If I had multiple images in here, I could flip through my flipbook, but this image now lives in this PDF. So the PDF is more or less a container holding all of those images for me. So again, if I transfer that to somebody else that has Bluebeam, they'd be able to see this icon and see the images that are attached there as well. Okay, continuing across the markups list here, there's a hide button. So if I wanted to, just for clarity purposes, I could click on here to click and hide all of my markups. Sometimes I do this when I do, last month we showed you the visual search where we searched for an object in the drawings. Sometimes I'll turn off my markups first so that it will be sure to find all those. Sometimes it doesn't find the elements that are behind markups, so I will turn those off temporarily to do my search. So again, just clicking on this I is going to turn them on and turn them off completely. The next box here is search. So let's say I want to find something in particular in my markups list, like something that has to do with bolts. I'm going to type in bolt, and as I start typing, it's going to filter my list to find everything that has bolt in the subject or anywhere in the markup. So now I can see, I can find all of those markups just by coming into my search and typing in what I'm looking for. Next one here is our filter. There's a lot of great powerful things we can do in here as well. We can filter our list. When you select that, it's going to give us a new header for all of these, and then we can take and filter these. So if I want to, let's say I just click on the top of my spaces, and I want to show everything that's in room 12, 50, 51, 52. And it's going to filter out all the rest of those. Now you can see that my list was narrowed down to just those. And I can even filter by multiple columns. So if I come over here, maybe I want to only see the electrical markups that are on in those pages or in those spaces. Now it's narrowed that search, and it looks like they're all in the same room. So you can go through and you can filter these. And then the nice thing they did recently was they gave us the ability to save those filters. So if I come in here, I can then name this electrical room 1252. And that'll give me that filter listed in here. So now if I go back and change these, maybe I'll clear all the filters that I have. Under my saved filters, I can very quickly come right back to where I was selecting that filter. Okay, so great features in there for filtering your markups and really honing in on the data that you want to see. Next, we're going to go over to the summary over here. That's our next button. Turn off my filter. I'm going to go to my summary. And there's a few different options in here. We can do a CSV summary, which is an Excel file. It will export all this data down here exactly as it looks into an Excel file. So all of these columns and rows will produce into an Excel file. And let's just show that here real quick to see what it looks like. Once you click on that, you come into our markup summary window here. On this window, you can tell it which different columns down here that you want it to actually report in your Excel file. So maybe you don't want the author, the rest of this we do. We'll leave that in. Next, we go to our filter tab, and you can make sure that these filter maybe by subject. Maybe you want to filter it by or sort it by room. You can do that. You can also filter things out here if you don't want to see some of these rooms, or maybe you don't want to see certain markups, things like that. You can filter and sort those. And then on your output, when you're exporting a CSV to Excel, you have an option to do the markups. So a line item for each one. The totals, which is going to give you this one here. These are all our line items. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. And this is our total where it says 4 next to it. Let me move this for a second. It says 4 next to it, and then my total is here. There's 4 of them. So I can tell it to do the markups, the totals, or the markups and the totals. So just be conscious of that when you're setting this up. A lot of customers that I work with, actually, we build this out so it mimics exactly what their estimating software looks like, so that we can export all of our markups and import them into their estimating software. So we create all these columns in the correct order with all the correct data, so that when they export, they can quickly import. So just keep that in mind here. If you ended up having your markups and totals, that might get caught up in your estimating software as an extra line item. So just keep that in mind. And then here you can also save these configurations too. If you have multiple different types of markups you're doing on here, maybe you're estimating several different types of material, you might have export configuration saved for each one of those different materials or different groupings, things like that. So you can save those, load those, each project, so you don't have to recreate all of these filter and sort settings. So I'm just going to click OK here, and it is going to open up Excel for me. So I can open that over here and just clean this up a little bit. You can see the headers up here, and then all of our markups are in here as well. So all those line items are lined up. So this is a one-directional thing. So anything that you export into Excel, none of the formulas or anything like that are going to carry into Excel. Any updates that you do in Excel are not going to push to the to your markups either. So once you export, it's not tied to the PDF whatsoever. So again, this is just a snapshot in time when you did the export. Okay, I'm not going to save that. Let's go back to the summary here. You can also do an XML summary. PDF is another good example. So let's go ahead and filter this list. I'll show you guys. In this example, I've played the role of a general contractor, and I went through and I used different colors. So all the orange markups are mechanical. All the red are, these bright red are installation. We saw the window problem there. The dark red is structural, yellow is electrical, and blue is plumbing. So I went through and created that visual language for all of those markups. I created a legend so that you could see exactly what was done here. I know that I need 4 return air ducts in the project, so I can kind of gauge what I'm going to be doing on site when I come and do my fixes. Okay, so here I'm going to show you, last month we also talked about layers over here on the left side. So let's go ahead and maybe I want to do just my mechanical. So I can go through and turn on mechanical, and that hid all the markups except for the mechanical. So I'm going to create a report for my mechanical contractor of all of their markups and what they're responsible for. So I'm going to come down and filter my list as well. And I'm only going to show mechanical. So that reduced my list down here. Layers reduced what I can see on my drawings. And then I'm going to go back to that summary and do a PDF summary. And this is kind of a neat one here. Also, you can turn on your columns, which ones you want to see, which ones you don't. Put in your filter and sorting. And then on your output, this one's kind of neat. You can append and hyperlink to the current PDF. So I'm going to select that and show you what that looks like. It's going to just attach it as another page to this drawing. Go through, you could have this go to your letterhead. So right now I have this going to my letterhead. You'll see that. Again, set up what you want some of these options to look like. Save your configurations. I'm going to click OK, and you're going to see it's going to create a summary report of everything that I need the mechanical contractor to fix. So here's the list. You can see all of the data from the markups list, all the different columns. You can see it's on my letterhead. If I jump through the pages, you can see the ones that have images attached. If I click on there, it's actually going to open up the image. Again, that all lives inside of our PDF here. Okay, and if I look at our thumbnails tab over here, there's our drawing up here, and then our 3-page report after that. And what's neat about the report, when I appended it and hyperlinked it, each one of these, you can see when I hover over these elements in my summary, they're hyperlinks. So I can click on this one and just click there. It'll bring me to that spot in my drawing where that markup was placed. So kind of a great way to share what needs to be done. So I could go through with my filters and my layers, and I can create a summary report for each of those different contractors, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and so on. And at the same time, I'm collecting all this data in one sheet instead of one sheet for each discipline. I can keep all of my stuff in one place. And that way, if I have mechanical markups that also pertain to plumbing, I can make sure that both parties will see those markups and how they relate in the markups list and the summary. So that is the PDF summary. And then of course you can always print a summary as well. If you're printing to a printer, you always have that option. The next thing that I want to talk about is the statuses. So one of the options that we have down here, I don't have turned on yet. So I'm going to go to my markups list, columns, and turn on my status right here. And that will put a new column over here. And what this status means is, in the case of this snagging list, if I'm the mechanical contractor and I went through and I made this change, I can double click in here and mark that completed. And you can set these up so automatically, you don't have to set this up. This is by default. It's going to mark, it says completed, and it says that I did it and when I marked that complete. So you can see that right away. And then as you're marking those complete, you can set up different custom statuses in here. You can name these whatever you like. You can set up color systems. So for me, I set this up so that when I marked things complete, it would actually gray it out so that it's not drawing attention anymore. It's not orange telling me I need to fix that. And then as a general contractor, I can come through when I see that this was marked complete. I can come in and reject it and so on and so forth. You can see all the different phases of what's happening in that status. So when I rejected it, I asked this one to turn pink to draw more attention. So you can do different statuses like that. Okay, we're getting close here. We're going pretty quick through these. Another thing that we can do in our markups list here is at the top of each of these columns. So if I want these in a different order, I can just hold my left mouse button down and drag this, and you'll see that tiny little arrow. That's where it's going to place when I let go. So I can reorder these however I want. Put them back and forth and so on. Again, that could have to do with what you're exporting to Excel. If you want these in a certain order, you can move these around to match that. The other thing that we can do is click on the top of the column, and that will sort the whole markups list by that column. So a lot like you would do in Excel, you can say sort everything by subject, and it's going to put all of the similar subjects together. So all our returns are together, all our bad circuits, and so on. If you click on the top of the spaces, it's going to categorize those, sort them by space, or by room in this case. Page label. if they're all on the same page or different pages, it's going to group those together. If it's a multi-page document and you go by page label, it will put all those by page. And then, of course, you can also sort them by status. So if you want to see everything that's marked complete or everything that's marked incomplete, things like that, you can sort that and then look through the markups that way, and so on. So you can just click on the top of any of these and it will sort the list by that column. Also, a lot of times when you're doing measurements and looking for quantities, you'll want to click on the subject, because then it'll group all of your quantities together, the things that are similar. So let me go to a different example here. I've got some concrete takeoffs here. And if I sort this one's sorted by subject. So it's putting all of my 18-inch piers together, all my 24-inch, and so on. All of my footings are grouped together. And when I do that, this one, for instance, pad footing, 20 inches deep, it's telling me there's 6 of them. It gives me the size of each one. So I've got my cubic yards of each one, and then a total cubic yards at the top. And that I'm getting that total because I'm sorting it and grouping together all these that are similar. So give me the quantity of concrete there. So that is how you can sort and reorder those columns. And then I said I would come back to this. Over here on our markups list, we went to columns. This one's actually showing up on a different screen because my list is long. So let me just, I'm going all the way down to the bottom and clicking on Manage Columns. And that's going to bring up this list here. So right now we've got display order. We've got all the different out of the box, all the different columns that are available. And then there's a whole bunch of custom ones in here that I added. Under the custom column tab here, you can go through and build all kinds of different data in here. So this is a concrete example. We'll show you some of that. But in here, I can add a new column, give it a name. It could be text, numbers, formulas, dates, choices, or check marks. So you can go through and, again, build out a lot more data in here using custom columns and custom information. Build those out all sorts of different ways. So I'm just going to cancel this one, cancel here. And for just to kind of show you how you can go crazy down here with your markups list and custom columns in that. This was an example that I did a while back for a customer. They wanted to know how much rebar they had in their footings, so in the concrete. So I created this concrete markup for the pad footing, named it such, put it in the layers. It tells me the concrete again. It tells me the area. If I wanted to, for some of these, I'll tell it how much crushed rock I need underneath it as well. So I can use different things like area. And then when it gets into the custom columns over here, you can see that I have a few. I'll show you how those work. I've got my slab rebar spacing in the length direction. So I'm saying those are 1 foot on center. And in the width direction, I'm also going to go 1 foot on center. This is telling us that the rebar is 3 inches from the edge of the concrete, so it doesn't rust. It's always 3 inches inside. And then this is going to tell us the total length of rebar that I need in both directions. If I change this to the vertical mats, if I double click in here and say I want this top and bottom, so put 2 mats in there, it'll double all my quantities. If I come in here and say these are 18 inches on center, and there's still, let's go 16 over here. It's built into the formulas here that it's taking the spacing and the length of all of those and multiplying it out to give me my total linear footage of rebar in those footings. So a lot of cool stuff that you can do in here. Kind of going to the extreme there with the rebar, but really the limitations are your imagination. If there's formulas for anything, you can build those in here to figure out pricing or quantities like we have here. Lots of different things. And then I think I'm going to end here with probably my favorite tip for the markups list, and that's for you guys that are doing, whether you're doing a snagging list or estimating, sometimes you just want this list off to the side so that you can have your whole drawing area to mark up your drawings. So the trick here is if you come way over to the left side and grab onto these three little lines with your left mouse button, you can drag that, and you can drag that onto another monitor if you want to. So you could have this entire markups list just generating off to the side on a different monitor while you're working on your drawings over here. So one of my favorite tips there as far as efficiencies and getting a clear workspace. So how's that for a thorough introduction to the power behind the markups list? Again, that was a lot to cover this month. I hope you guys took some notes, enjoyed the detailed introduction to Revu's markups list. If you have any questions at all regarding training or customization services for your company, don't hesitate to reach out to our team. Next month, we're going to introduce several of the time-saving tools included in Revu's Extreme version, saving measurable time with batch tools. Will definitely get your attention when we create hyperlinks, slip sheet revisions, and other modifications to several sheets at a time. Everyone who registered for today's webinar will receive a follow-up email and with the registration link. Be sure to grab a seat. We'll have some fun sharing some really cool examples proving Bluebeam is way more than just a PDF viewer. Thanks again for hanging out this afternoon. I'm honored again to see everybody hanging out till the end. And Darren, I think this time we have some room for questions. So let's check out the chat, see what we've got.
Yeah, thanks, Troy. That was excellent as normal. It has created quite a few questions, and we've had some good comments around the detail, which is really nice to see. Unfortunately, Troy, the questions that we've had are more questions that we're going to have to take offline. They're going to require some demo and some live interaction. So just an example of what we're actually happy to do here, but some of the questions really aren't going to go well in a webinar environment. So we'll take those offline and come back to each of you shortly after the webinar, possibly tomorrow. So yeah, as Troy mentioned, thank you for everybody that attended the webinar. The goal from Brighter Graphics is really to offer technical detail to improve your Bluebeam usage and offer time-saving features with the tools you already have. It's part of our value add to the Bluebeam community and our own company. For those of you that are still here, I'm going to run a quick poll. It'd be really great to have some of your feedback. If you could answer the question, that would be really good. It will help us to grow the content and the topics that you would all like to see in future webinars. Appreciate again your time. Looking forward to seeing you on the next webinar, which is the 30th of August, and it will be saving measurable time with batch tools. If any of your colleagues you know would like to attend, feel free to send the invite on. We'd like to welcome everyone to the BluebeamMeUp series. Looking forward to doing this all again next month. Have a great day.